Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the jerk off who picked Louis Sutherland to defeat Brando Pericic. Yeah, that was tough to watch. That was one of those fights where I was watching it going, oh, God, you fucking idiot. You actually said on camera that this guy was going to win. Now look at him. Ah, fuck. It's not getting any better. Shit, I got to go on the internet and face these people tomorrow. Fucking Louis Sutherland. And here I am, holding myself to account. Yeah, that was not my best call. I think I said something about him being better down the stretch. There was no down the stretch. And if there was, I'm not sure he would have been the better man anyway. Let's be honest. But anyway, I'm here to recap UFC Fight Night London, UFC Fight Night 270, Ivoyev versus Murphy. All right. My thoughts are going to be all over the place with this main event. Let me start by saying it wasn't a great fight, but it was a very interesting fight. It was still very compelling TV, and I'm sure Alexander Volkanovski was interested as well. But my thoughts altogether, my scorecard first and foremost is 47-47. I thought Lerone won the first two rounds. I thought round one was closer than it appeared to be, which is why I live bet on Lerone Murphy after two rounds and lost money like a fucking jerk off. Even though I thought he won round one, but I thought round one was closer than it seemed to be. And the significant numbers, strike numbers, were like 14-8, however the fuck you measure significance. But regardless, I thought Evloev won the last three rounds. I thought he stole round three, and I thought he won the last three rounds. And I thought in general, under pride scoring, if I could be that fucking jerk off for a second, talking about an organization that lasted from 97 to 2007. But if I was to score the fight as a whole, I would think say Avoyev got the better of Murphy. He won the 25-minute contest. But round four, he was deducted a point for low blows, which I don't think it was intentional, but he hit a few of them. And I don't think Lerone Murphy's balls really gave a shit whether he meant it or not. And I think that actually might have, I think it did fuel Evoyev. I think there's no doubt that fueled him, and he turned it up in a big way after that. And even, the fight was still close at that point. So maybe the nut shot really took something from Lerone Murphy. But I do think Evoyev was turning it up in the second half of this fight anyway. And I'm not somebody who always buys the, hey, I wanted to show I can strike bullshit. Most times I attribute that to, hey, I'm not sure it's worth it to wrestle with this guy, and I'm having a hard time getting a shot off anyway. I think Lerone Murphy has really good takedown defense in that level one invisible kind of way. The shit we don't see, where he's moving well. He's got fucking shit up the middle, strikes up the middle, and he's a good, strong athlete firing on all cylinders. I think Avoyev did want to wrestle, even though he said he wanted to show he can strike more. I think he knew he had to strike here. But I still think altogether, when it's all said and done, the wrestling was the difference. So Avoyev should really take note of that. Yeah, you won because of your wrestling here. And he did get Lerone down and got some increasingly dominant control throughout this fight. Round five, even threatened an arm triangle choke briefly. But he won. He got the better of him, I thought, with his grappling altogether. And for Lerone Murphy, I don't know what he was thinking scorecard wise. And I'm sure the point deduction was good in the back of his mind there. I feel like if I was him, I think, like I said, I thought the fight was a draw. That's what I thought he was thinking there. Even if I lose round five, if I don't get 10-8, a 10-8 scorecard against me, I'm not losing this fight. But he still wasn't pressing harder in the end. And early on, where I thought he was better, like I said, I thought it was pretty close in round one. There's a lot of, you know, whatever you call it, subjectivity when it comes to measuring significance of strikes. I thought Lerone was moving well and landing more, but I still thought Avoyev cracked him a few times and was doing more stalking. So the point of this is to say hometown judging isn't always a thing, because I thought they got this one wrong. It wasn't a horrible decision, but I thought Murphy won round one narrowly. He didn't, and that was the crux of the matter. Movsar Avoyev did well at the end of this fight, separated himself, I thought, from Lerone Murphy in the championship rounds, and with the cookie crumbling in his direction, in his favor in round one, he gets the fucking title shot, I think. There's a video of Jean Silva fucking going up to Hunter Campbell, handing him a contract. But I think that's just gamesmanship, internet horseshit. Avoyev should get the title shot. He's definitely earned it. I don't think the UFC was thrilled with this. I don't think Dana was thrilled with it, this fight. He didn't seem to complain about the decision, but still, Avoyev is undeniable at this point, and he's got a very pretty 20-0 record now. 20 is much prettier than 19. So yeah, really interesting fight. Both these guys are still contenders, and Lerone Murphy, yeah, if Avoyev got injured, Lerone can fill in for a title shot. This is not a huge setback at all for Lerone Murphy, even though he's got a 1 now in the loss column. Luke Riley beat Michael Aswell by decision. I thought this was a really fun fight. I think Luke was just the sharper striker. He moved well. He was a little bigger, and I thought more powerful as well. But Michael Aswell has just impossible toughness. And toughness is level 1, but he also fucking got in Luke's face and really made it an interesting fight. And by that, I mean I scored all 3 rounds for Luke Riley, but I still thought it was an interesting fight. Maybe not on paper. But yeah, Michael Aswell, he's got a bunch of great traits. I don't think he's the best striker, and I don't think he's the sharpest guy. He's definitely considerably slower than Luke Riley. But I think Michael Aswell is one of those guys you don't want to fight. He's not going to do much to advance your career, and he's not going to be easy. And you're going to have to fight him for 15 minutes. But Luke Riley did that. I think he fought a really tough guy, a guy that makes it difficult for you to look great. And I think Luke came through in a big way. Wasn't able to get the finish, but who the fuck has with Michael Aswell? And Luke Riley got a nice co-main event victory with the bright light shining on him. Speaking of which, the bright lights were on Michael Venom Page. I don't know. He's awesome. He's awesome. And he's definitely still a formidable championship level fighter at 38 or whatever he is. But the UFC doesn't like him. They don't like him. They keep giving him shitty matchups, moving him around weight divisions. And here, even though Sam Patterson's on a 4-fight winning streak, I thought this was a step down promotionally. I thought Sam was definitely in this matchup, but I thought Michael Venom Page deserved more, fighting contenders like Cannonier in the past. But here he did what he needed to do. He got the victory. He's got a very pretty UFC record, and the one loss isn't a horrible loss either. Tight one to Ian Gary. But Michael Venom Page, I don't know. I feel like he's in danger of being cut or having his contract severed or whatever. Or I think the UFC is just not thrilled with him. And here he was supposed to deliver. Not that it's always going to look the one way with Sam Patterson, but he's got 2 other losses, even if they're to heavier overhand right 155ers. But he's been knocked out in his other 2 losses. Here, Michael Venom Page, who's incredibly crafty and dangerous, maybe not punch for punch. He's not Mr. Overhand, but he's still dangerous. And his danger was a non-factor. It was his evasiveness that won him this fight. He outjousted Sam Patterson. The crowd didn't give a shit. It made for shitty television. And MVP, who they showed his entrance and gave him a whole spotlight here, he, I thought, won the fight but shit the bed at the same time. And I hate saying this shit because it's like it should only matter whether you win or lose. And look, you heard me recapping the Charles Oliveira Max Holloway fight a few weeks ago, saying, hey, Charles did what he needed to do. He beat Max Holloway. You beat that guy by DQ. It's a fucking feather in your cap. You can put that on your tombstone. But here, I felt like Michael Venom Page, the circumstances demanded more. And even if he gave it more of an effort and didn't close the show, that'd be one thing. But here, there was just no effort to be exciting. And he could blame his opponent for kind of being frozen because Michael Venom Page, better than anybody, can freeze someone. But at some point, whether it's just for your UFC future or whatever, I feel like you have to go for it, especially when you feel like you're in control and you've got the timing down, and these two knew each other anyway. So this is one of the few times you'll hear me criticize a fighter for winning comfortably. But I just expected more from Michael Venom Page. And yeah, this was a great win, but not a great fight. Iwo Baranevsky knocked out Austin Lane. Look, Iwo, this did nothing to stop me from thinking he's fucking a killer. He's a monster. But I just have to talk about Austin Lane and say, this guy's got to retire. 6'6", cutting weight, sucking every bit of fucking water out of your body, and you've got enough concussions already piled up to make for a highlight reel or a low light reel, and there is one with him. And here it took one shot, two, if you count the combination, I guess. But Austin Lane, man, it's just not that he's going to start slurring his speech soon, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's got to think about his future and he's got to retire. And for Iwo, he doesn't have to retire. I hope his hands are okay and I hope he gets back in there. I guess he didn't top his last fight because he almost got killed a few times, but a nice 28-second knockout, landing two punches. Not a bad sophomore effort for Iwo Baranevsky. So great fucking fight from him. And yeah, for Austin Lane, man, time to check out. Like you have to check out and don't cut the fucking middleweight now. And don't ever cut the light heavyweight again. Just stop. Maybe do some grappling matches, find a coaching route or something. But it's time to stop fighting. I'm like a douchebag today. I'm usually very respectful and delicate when it comes to fighters. But when I'm like mad at Austin Lane, you're fucking cutting down the light heavyweight. Stop. Christian Leroy Duncan beat Roman Dolidze. I thought this was an interesting fight. My only bet was Roman Dolidze wins by decision. And as far as props go for fighters I'm not picking, I went pretty heavily. Like $20 or whatever. No, but Roman Dolidze, he made this interesting. He made it interesting against Christian Leroy Duncan. I thought, with 30 seconds more of control time in round one, and then kind of getting his ass kicked after that, he would have won round one and the fight. But there was a little too much time after his control where Christian poured it on and reclaimed the round. And Roman, who looked uncomfortable, especially after all that spent energy, did a lot of jiu-jitsu flopping. Wasn't the greatest look, but in the end, he made it a close fight. And I forget how he got Christian down. I don't think it was any takedown. Maybe he caught a kick, I think. Something happened. But he pounced on him, and he ended up just securing the back, getting a body triangle, and he never let Christian Leroy Duncan go. And I thought CLD had more in the tank at that point, and he might have. But Roman had enough in the tank to not let that position go and to win that round and give himself a shot at the fight. And for me, a shot at my $160 or whatever. But Christian was able to survive, keep himself from losing a 10-8. And in the first two rounds, he did enough. Was dancing around Roman, twice as sharp as he was, twice as powerful. And moved twice as well. So comfortable win for Christian. Maybe not as comfortable as it could have been, but he definitely won this fight. And for Roman Dolidze, it's another fight in which he wasn't finished. And this was a deceptively close fight, but another loss on his record. Danny Silva beat Curtis Campbell 30 seconds into round two. I thought Danny looked sharp, gave up some control in round one, but I thought at the end of round one, he seemed like he was going to have more down the stretch to me. Curtis Campbell, he could be a little too high and light on his toes in the first place, and just propped up for a punch. And I thought he was propped up too much here. He'd slowed down to the point where Danny could catch him, and he put himself on a tee for Danny's right hand. Danny cracked him a few times, never let him go, and got a second round finish. Great win for Danny Silva. Really a great win for him. Came through big as an underdog against Curtis Campbell, who certainly disappointed the crowd there. And for Curtis Campbell, he's a guy who'd never been TKO'd. I believe he was submitted once as an amateur and never beaten as a pro. And he also lost a decision as an amateur. But here, this is a new kind of loss, and it's via striking. The guy's definitely got it going on grappling wise, and striking, he gets really flowy, and he can definitely get it going when he's confident. But here, I think he was exposed a little bit. I think Danny Silva showed him a whole new wrinkle to his profile as a fighter. What the fuck am I talking about? Great win for Danny Silva and tough loss for Curtis Campbell. Mason Jones beat Axel Sola by decision. This was a fucking war. Really how I imagined the fight. Mason narrowly won, and I think Axel might have even landed all the takedowns. I think he got one in round one in round three, maybe. But I don't. Mason might have taken him down. I forget. But I just thought Mason was outworking him. Mason got hit with a big spinning back elbow or back fist or whatever early on, and that was the biggest moment of the fight. Axel poured it on, and Axel had a big, long frame. Definitely a strong physical problem for Mason. But Mason was able to survive. I think Mason was a little faster, and I think that speed kind of took over. And Mason was really sharp as well. And yeah, he's given up some physical traits, and he's definitely he was up against it physically with Axel Sola, but he was landing some nice head kicks as well. He was more active, tough as all fuck, and I think he took it to Axel Sola and slowly beat the fight out of him. Where in the end he wasn't able to get a finish, but he was close. Mason Jones, really close. But Axel held on, and it was a great fight. He was got a bonus, but Mason definitely won the last two rounds. And yeah, Axel Sola, where he started off really strongly and was in this fight throughout, he he lost this due to cardio a little bit. I think Mason Jones outworked him. But yeah, that was a classic. Nathaniel Wood beat Hussein Keita by split decision. I thought this was close. I do think it could have gone either way, but my scorecard was Nathaniel Wood won the fight. I actually only gave Keita round two, and it's because he landed a single punch in the final second that I said, all right, that's enough, I guess. But I do think Nathaniel Wood was a quarter step ahead of him. Can't even say a half step. I thought it was really close. I thought Keita was more dangerous, but I think Wood had the numbers on his side. He outlanded him, and I think Wood frustrated Keita, again, in a lot of invisible ways, at least to a fucking novice like myself. But Nathaniel Wood, he's a really crafty, seasoned, well-rounded guy. I don't think Keita had as many options as he usually has here. And Nathaniel Wood, in my opinion, very narrowly outstruck him. Great win for Nathaniel Wood. Another fight that was really close, and you could certainly argue against it, like you could against for him against Jose Delgado and whoever else. But Nathaniel Wood, he's on a 4-fight winning streak, and these are some very valuable victories. Wouldn't surprise me to see Delgado or Keita surge to the top and become a championship level fighter. And Nathaniel Wood has stepped over both of them. So excellent win for Nathaniel Wood. And for Hussein Keita, not a horrible debut. I thought he was very competitive. You can definitely argue he won the fight, but he didn't really put a stamp on any one round. Again, aside from maybe round 2 with that big punch. And I thought he left this one up in the air, and it came down on the other side for Nathaniel Wood. Mario Pinto beat Felipe Franco by decision. How the fuck did this go the distance? I don't know, but it went the distance. Felipe Franco handled himself better than I expected him to. Certainly in a longer fight. He collapsed in his only other long fight. And I do think this was a slower, sloppier, heavyweight affair. But Mario Pinto, he's got a lot going for him. This wasn't the best win or the prettiest, certainly, and not one for the highlight reels. But he's still going strongly. He's kicking ass in the UFC. And here, there's no disputing that he won this fight. It just it's a surprise he wasn't able to close the show, considering his own danger and Felipe Franco's downside. But yeah, sloppy, good victory for Mario Pinto. And for Felipe Franco, he didn't collapse here. So there's that. Montes Contra beat Antonio Tricoli by decision. How the fuck did this go the distance? I don't know. Tricoli, he just doesn't have the physicality to take this fight to the ground. Not easily, anyway. He's too tall, got a very high center of gravity, and he can make some straight shots work for him, his height and reach, and it buys him some time in the clinch, but he's just not the most skilled fighter. Montes is a crusher, a killer, and he wasn't able to kill Trocoli here, who, again, like I said, has a better chin than he's given credit for. Certainly does. But Montes was always in control of this fight, never really let it slip away, and good luck for him going 15 minutes, even if he didn't really need to. So, yeah, we learned a little more about him, and you'll hear me say that next time. Hey, he went 15 minutes or whatever, and he didn't collapse, and there was no sign of it. But Trocoli should probably find a way to make it more impressive. Brando Pericic beat Louis Sutherland by TKO in 2 minutes, minute and 48. He was just too dangerous. I was harping on Louis Sutherland's athleticism, saying he's like Chris Farley, and the guy can kick when you don't think he'll be able to because he's kind of like round, but he can kick. Yeah, I'm sure he can. But Brando can too, and Brando just beat him up. I thought Louis tried to force some shots and some grappling, some clinch situations from the far, far side of the octagon. Some really poorly timed, desperate, athletic bull rushings. But he looked like he was never going to be able to get Pericic down. And Pericic was just too dangerous for him. I think Louis looked uncomfortable there. And I think he felt it once the strike started landing that Pericic was too much for him and had his number. And that was it. Louis loses by TKO for the first time, and it's with ease, 1 minute and 48 seconds. And for Brando Pericic, yeah, there's still some doubt. He hasn't answered every question and yada, 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 but he certainly reinforced the fact that he's a badass kickboxer from City Kickboxing. So, excellent win for him. Abdul Karim El Sawadi beat Shem Rock by decision. I just think Shem is lacking in athleticism and physicality. Anyway, I think Al Sawadi was just too sharp for Shamrock on the outside. He was way too sharp for him. Shamrock, I think, is going to be facing superior athletes with superior strength, and I don't think he's going to be able to fight his type of fight. I think he's going to look really tough, but athletically outgunned. And I think Al Sawadi, not just with athleticism. I think he was the sharper striker as well. Abdul Karim Al Sawadi's really sharp, mixes it up, moves so well, cutting angles with feints and all kinds of horse shit. And he was just a step ahead of Shamrock throughout this whole fight. And Shamrock lacked the physicality to really change things, even with his striking and also with his grappling. He just wasn't able to force any sort of grappling at all. He did get on top of Abdul Karim Al Sawadi after Al Sawadi tried to take him down. It was a good reversal where he used his leverage, but that was to no avail. Al Sawadi already won the round. How about Al Dente with that to no avail shit, huh? But yeah, I think Shamrock is going to be up against it with superior athletes, and I think he's going to have a tough time in the UFC, to be honest. Chanel Dyer beat Ravena Oliveira, showed her that she can be stopped with strikes. Ravena had never been finished aside from submissions, but Chanel Dyer went through with strikes, knees, and punches, and also a big head kick, which is not listed there. But yeah, she clipped her, hurt her, and put her away. And that was after, I think, comfortably winning the fight. Not that she was dominating, but she was moving better and striking better. And I think Ravena Oliveira had to try to force a change. And before that could happen, she got forced to stop with some mean strikes from Chanel Dyer. Chanel Dyer, I expect her to stay afloat in the UFC. I think she's going to have a really good career. I still want to see her answer some questions, going back to her amateur career. But here and in her last few fights in her pro career, she's looked great. And she's got a bunch of great traits and some really good striking. That's it. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.